close your eyes and get present in your body and in your being. And choose to set an intention for this space. Maybe to hold no shame, no judgment, and just to feel into your truth. In this session, we will be looking at the personal shadow. The personal shadow develops naturally in every young child. As we identify with what is the ideal personality, such as politeness and generosity, we reinforce in our environment and we shape the perfect self. At the same time, we bury in the shadow those qualities that don't fit our self-image, such as rudeness or selfishness. The ego and the shadow then develop in tandem, creating each other out of the same life experience. Many forces play a role in forming our shadow self, ultimately determining what is a permitted expression and what is not. Parents, siblings, teachers, culture, and friends create a complex environment in which we learn what is kind and proper and moral, and what is mean-spirited, shameful, or sinful. The shadow acts like a psychic immune system, defining what is self and what is not. For different people in different families, what falls into the ego and what falls into the shadow can vary. For instance, some permit anger or aggression, but most do not. Some permit sexuality, vulnerability, or strong emotions, yet many families do not. Some permit financial ambition, artistic expression, or intellectual development, while others do not. All the feelings and capacities that are rejected by the ego are exhaled into the shadow and contribute to the hidden power of the dark side of human nature, our shadow self. However, not all of them are considered negative traits. This dark treasury includes our infantile parts, emotional attachments, playfulness, our undeveloped talents and gifts. The shadow, when we retain contact, can be lost within the depths of our soul. We cannot look directly into this hidden domain. The shadow, by its nature, is difficult to apprehend. It is dangerous and disorderly and forever in hiding, as if the light of consciousness itself would steal its very life. The unconscious cannot be conscious. The moon has its dark side, the sun goes down and cannot shine everywhere at once. Attention and focus are required to feel into the dark side of ourself. One cannot look both ways at the same time. For this reason, we see the shadow most indirectly, in our distaste for others' actions or traits, out there where it's safer to observe it. When we react intensely to a quality in an individual or a group, such as laziness, stupidity, or sensuality, or spirituality, and our reactions overtake us with a great loathing or admiration, this is our shadow acting up. We project by attributing this quality onto the other person in an unconscious effort to banish ourselves from it, to keep ourselves avoidant from seeing within. Projection is like a shooting magic arrow. If the receiver has a soft spot to receive the projection, it will stick. Although we cannot gaze directly at the shadow, it does appear in daily life. For example, we meet our shadow in our humour, in our dirty jokes or sarcasm, in which we express our hidden inferiorities and our feared emotions. Humour is a great hider. When we observe closely that which strikes us as funny, such as someone falling over, we can discover that our shadow is active. It's usually the shadow self who laughs at our jokes. We meet the shadow every day, in our exaggerated feelings about others. Any strong feeling we have about another person is most likely part of our inner shadow. If it's seen as negative, we must look in ourselves like a mirror. It is seen in our impulsive and inadvertent acts. Oops, I didn't mean to say that. In situations where we are humiliated, I'm so ashamed about how he treats me. In our exaggerated anger about other people's faults. She just can't seem to get to work on time. God, he really lets his feelings get out of control. At moments like these, we are possessed by strong feelings of shame or anger. If we find the behaviour of others off the mark in some way, then this is our shadow erupting unexpectedly. Usually it recedes just as quickly, because meeting the shadow can be a frightening and shocking experience to our self-image. We don't want to admit that those things that trigger us in others are actually just parts of ourselves. For this reason, we may quickly shift into denial, hardly noticing the murderous fantasy, the suicidal thought, or the embarrassing envy that could reveal just a bit of our own darkness. The aim of meeting the shadow is to develop an ongoing relationship with it, to expand our sense of self by balancing the one-sidedness of our conscious attitudes with our unconscious depths. When we are in a proper relationship with it, our light and dark can join as one, and we can be a whole human. The unconscious is not a monster. A good relationship with the shadow is a great gift. It could lead us back to ourself, our full self. Through shadow work, we can achieve a more genuine self-acceptance based on a more complete knowledge of who we really are. We can diffuse the negative emotions that erupt unexpectedly in our daily lives, and we can feel more free of guilt and shame associated with our negative feelings and actions. We can recognize what is a projection and how they colour our opinions of others, and we can take full ownership of ourselves. Shadow work can help us heal relationships from an honest space. When we were 1 or 2 years old, we might have had what you visualize as a 360 personality, an energy radiating out of all parts of our body and all parts of our psyche. Visualize a child running as a living globe of energy. We had a ball of energy, all right. But one day we noticed that our parents didn't like certain parts of that ball. They said things like, "Can't you just be still?" Or "It's not nice that you don't share with your brother." Behind us we have an invisible bag, and the parts of ourself that our parents don't like or our siblings don't like, we shove into the bag. By the time we go to school, our bag is quite large. Then our teachers have their say. Good children don't get angry over such little things. So we take our anger and we put it into the bag. We do a lot of bag stuffing during high school, so that round globe of full energy, by the time we're 20, maybe is only just a small slice. Culture will put different things into the bag: religion, sexuality. It's possible that the bag of all human beings is pretty much the same side. We all have darkness. We all have a shadow. Every part of our personality that we do not love will become hostile towards us. There is nothing so frightening as facing the darkness within, our inner shadow. We will do almost anything to avoid having to look in the darkest places of our soul. However, there is no change that doesn't begin in the darkest parts of our soul. We first have to discover an entrance into the darkness, a willingness to look, a willingness to take ownership. And then we can light a tiny candle in the dark, and we can search for our future self. We can join with it, and we can become whole. Take a moment now to look deeply inwards and ask yourself what here rings true. Any realizations? Maybe parts of yourself that you have never shared, the parts that you struggle to admit even to yourself. Try to feel into these emotions, maybe focusing on just one emotion that you just can't accept about yourself. Feel that emotion in your body. Feel into it and simply accept that it exists. Feel how that emotion feels in your body. And look deeply at that emotion. Look at your acceptance around others that experience this emotion. Look into your childhood and the role that this emotion played for you in childhood. Notice anything that might be coming up for you. Try to feel into the emotion with pure acceptance that we are all just a full spectrum of emotions. The only reason some of us have a bigger shadow is because we've spent our whole lives running from it. Choose to witness it now. Don't shame yourself, but just get curious. And I'll remain silent for a few moments for you to just feel into this emotion, just accepting that this is simply just another emotion. Like the sun and the moon, we have the light and the dark. We need to face and feel into the emotions that we are afraid to feel, that we push away, so that they can become integrated into who we truly are. If you've spent your whole life telling yourself that you just shouldn't feel this, that you don't want this to be part of you, then ask yourself, how well has that gone? Has running from it helped it get smaller? Or has it only got bigger and more powerful in your life? Ask yourself if you're ready to do something different. Try to move into deep self-acceptance over this part of who you are. You are not broken. We are all just wounded humans trying to heal. And self-acceptance in all that we are is the first step to finding a more peaceful life. Allow your eyes to remain shut and become mindful of your breath. Inhaling in a new way of being, exhaling out any shame or judgment that you might be holding onto. Inhaling in full self-acceptance and love for the person that you truly are. Exhaling, letting go of all the things that you tell yourself that you should be. Discovering who we are, true self-love, is never about changing. It's simply about being exactly the person that we've always been. Allowing in all parts of ourselves so that we can feel whole in all that we are. We don't have to change. We already have everything we need.